we may draw very many lines and say, oh, this has to happen, this has to happen. But as a man, I believe that my role in this life and in the next life is just to bring common decency.
My mom raised us with a lot of banter. Like, it was always like, she expressed her affection with us by making us laugh or using nicknames for us, or she'd come and tell us something that happened today, which made us laugh. And I think maybe that contributed significantly to humor being a way of just life.
So how was the journey from like formal education to deciding this is what I want to do? Because I believe you went into law.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know those paths from being like, mom, dad, this is what I want to do, or even you at that formative age, like this is the path I want to go down.
Yeah.
When was that realization that I want to go into comedy for both of you?
So I'll just move on to the next question before I get too excited. I wanted to kind of poke your brain on an incident that happened in America, obviously, between two comedians, and the slap hard across the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there what are your thoughts when it happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock, and what did that mean for comedy culture, even here in Kenya? Were there did that slap get here? And what was your interpretation of the event as comedians? Yeah.
I think, Ty, you can go first.
Wow. So I think that slap had three perspectives, right? Yeah. And for every perspective, there are people behind it, yeah?
Yeah.
There was Chris Rock, yeah? A comedian who ideally could throw barbs at you, and you know it's all in good taste. I mean, you're a celebrity, you have all those things. I mean, you could take a joke. Life is good for you, right?
Yeah.
Second, we had Will, right? Who I think he felt the desire to defend his wife or to do whatever it is, because you know he has his problem. Like if we side on Will Smith, we don't. And I've read his book. And
how so have we?
Yeah, and I've read his book. I'm not finished it, but I'm still reading it right now. It's because it's my current book, right? But he talks about how a big part of him was he had to get a woman approval for a lot of things he did. Like a lot of things he did in life, there was a woman behind them, right? And then we have Jada, right? She's losing hair, so someone makes fun of it, right? And so, you know, like I was just saying, in Kenya, when we lose hair, it's mbwe. In America, it's alopecia. I'm saying, but they're just at its core was, my bias is with freedom of expression and freedom of speech.
Yes,
I feel that she was like Jada, where she was, did not like. What does she lose from that joke? Like, if you listen, he'd made fun of so many more people before that, but when he got to her, and now I think Will Smith was just at a place where, you know, like, if you notice when I talk to girls about it, especially black women, they enjoy that slap, because them, they're not pro-violence, but violence that protects them. They're like, me, I want my man to just slap someone in case someone talks smack, right? And I think if he'd said that outside of comedy, he deserved the slap. But because he was saying that on a stage, I feel so Will was wrong. He just apologized. Chris hasn't accepted the apology, but Will apologized. So like, I feel not because I'm not saying go make fun of people's girlfriends and wives, you'll get smacked. What I'm saying is on a stage and you've come to this space, you know what we're about. Like, don't come here and like don't be by a swimming pool and then be pissed when you get wet. You know. That's
I hear that.
I think I agree entirely, and I think we're biased because we are
that's
talking.
the thing. We have a bias. We have a comedy bias.
But it's always, and just in relation to that, the funniest thing is that the people who are always most offended by the things we say on stage are the people who are the farthest away from it.
My friend,
True.
just continue.
Talk.
Let me tell you.
Listen,
I asked that question because I wanted a social critique.
Eric said.
Keep going.
So the thing is, for instance, we've had occasions when we're doing our comedy. There's one time we made fun of a celebrity or a person who's basically very high up in profile and whatnot. And the friend came and said, oh, you know, this person would be very upset at that. Why would you do that? Why would you say that about this? And then when we met the celebrity, they were actually laughing at the joke we were making. So in the same way that, first things first, I feel like everything, I always say this, the stage is sacred.
It is.
The stage is sacred. Whatever is said on that, and again, I repeat this. You may not like what we have to say, but you have to defend our right to say it. Because as soon as we start drawing lines, we say, you cannot talk about alopecia.
Yeah.
Then it will become, we cannot talk about corruption because that person has not been sentenced. Then it becomes, you cannot talk about sexuality because you're not A, B, C, D. You cannot talk. So we start.
I think you want to use other letters.
Yeah, okay, that's. But we start drawing those lines, and that space becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. And you'll notice that in history, every single time you have an authoritarian regime come into power, the first thing that goes away is basically the arts. It's the arts. The space shrinks because of that. And so by Will Smith climbing that stage, and this is a performer. This is a person who's very much in this space.
Done comedy.
He's done comedy. He is a performer. He has done things in the past that when you go back and you look at it, that were way worse. To get up on that stage and feel the need to defend his woman physically. Because I always say escalation comes when one person chooses a different form of response from what was issued. So if he said something, Chris Rock said something about my wife, an even response is something, me saying something about his wife. But like Ty said, this person, there's a reason a stage is always elevated. It means that that person is talking to us and we are here as an audience. And you choose whether you can be an audience or not. Best reaction he would have done if he was upset, stood up with his wife, left. But at the same time, like Ty said, there's basically a show that happens in Las Vegas. It's really crazy. It's about a guy who's basically smashing fruit with a massive mallet. That's the whole act. And when you come, they give you all these like PVC sheets so that when he's smashing a watermelon, it doesn't splash on you. You basically cover yourself. But if it gets on you, you cannot sue that guy and say, you need to clean my clothes. Same thing. Chris Rock had every right to talk about whatever he was talking about on that particular stage. Will Smith's job at that point was to defend Chris Rock's right to say whatever he was saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, we're in a culture where if I'm offended, it means I'm right. You see, like at its core is the greater my feeling of offense, the greater my righteous indignation about it, right? So if, and let's say, now I'm going to bring it here in Kenya, right? In Kenya, we have an upper and middle class, who are primarily our biggest audience, who, let's say, have gone abroad and come back or consume a lot of abroad material, right? In Kenya, they're the most privileged class of all. But because of the biases they've taken from around the world, they take a victimhood with them. You see? I was told, like the average Kenyan does not complain about racism generally. You see, at Alchemist or wherever it is. In Kenya, it's a privilege to even access racism from a white person. Like if you make racism your thing, like my bro, if you're dying in Kenya, your tribe is going to be more reason you're going to die than your race. Yeah. So the thing is, you're loud about it in the sense that first, racism is wrong. Let's get to that. That's fact. But you don't talk about when our house helps are killed in Arabia. That's that's a proper racism issue. Or Wahindis in industrial area just doing things to it. You see. But for you, I access a different class of racism, right? Like I'm at a different place of, and it's not just now with race, with sexuality, where our most privileged classes have taken the baton of offense. Like it's now, they're the ones who are now protector of the offended without realizing. And the people who they think are offended are having the times of their lives. But them, it's like, how dare you say that about us?
I always say it like, a perfect example I give is when somebody can put so much effort into something that for someone else not in their demographic, it looks like, how do you even think about that? I equate it to, old people, they don't have much going on in their life, not to sound mean. But like, so whenever you meet them, the kind of stories they'll tell you is like about a voucher that wasn't accepted somewhere, right? So for them, that's like, I want to talk about this for like half an hour. But for you, somebody that's like going through school, you've got exams, I don't care about your voucher. That's how I always equate it. I'm curious, there's something in my eye, guys, I'll be honest with you. Something in my eye. I'm curious about now the dark side of comedy, right? I always look at someone like Jordan Peele, and I think one of the things I heard him say in an interview is that comedy and horror are parallel, right? They're parallel. So I'm curious to know how you navigate the dark side and how that's been in your journey with comedy, because I always hear that right by each other.
Yeah.
One of the things I'll say is that for people who seek validation from others, like the audience always needs to understand we are up there trying to make, like there's a guy called Maina Marumba, one of the stand-up comedians, and he said this like so genuinely, like it sort of hurt me. He said, we just want you to love us. That's it. We just want you to love us. And you find that a lot of the things that we talk about on stage, it's almost like therapy sessions. So there's a lot of darkness that comes with what we talk about on stage. There's a lot of, like they say most times, and Ty never agrees with this, is that humor comes from a very dark place. But that's because we go... That's why he doesn't agree. But we go to the places, we go to those enclaves that are the darkest.
Yeah.
For us to be able to find something funny about that.
Yeah.
But you find that when we get off that stage, if you'd interrogate exactly what we were talking about, when you get off that stage, these are either very personal elements that we are experiencing, or they're things that we've spent so much time pondering. So when I go on stage, there's a time I did a joke and it was very dark. I did a joke and I said, guys, they just found 29 bodies at River Yala. And that's really sad. But the saddest thing about that is that the other rivers have been slut shaming River Yala. They're like, how many bodies, what's your body count? And River Yala is like, it's 29, but 2 don't count. They were my boyfriend. Like, that's a very dark place.
Joke, yeah.
But it's the amount of time I have spent thinking about extrajudicial killing. It's the amount of time I've spent about agonizing about what are these people's families thinking if you had someone who had disappeared and the 29 bodies that have been found. The thought process for me is like, you're hoping that one of those bodies is not your relative, is not your brother, is not your sister. But you're also hoping for closure. You're like, I hope that conflict is something that comedians interrogate so very many times, so that by the time you're going on stage to tell a joke about a very dark thing or tell a very dark joke, it is not a joke to us. It is not a joke to us. It may seem like we're taking something very lightly. There are a lot of people who attack Dave Chappelle about him and talking about the trans community. But this person has sat down and interrogated that particular subject.
And their relationship with
and
society.
their relationship with society. And he's not poking fun at them. I say comedians are a mirror to society. And we're concave, we're convex, we have all those mirrors that make you look skinny, make you look big. Like all of those are basically mirrors. All the mirror does, it reflects back what it's receiving. It doesn't create any imagery. So the darkness that we see is something that has been interrogated on so many levels. So even the lightest of jokes, if you sit down with a comedian and you ask them, how did you come up with this? Our writers' rooms tend to just disintegrate. Our workshops tend to disintegrate because you start asking, oh, what about this? And then the person tells you the thought process behind it and you're like, yo, this person is dealing with. You need to speak to someone.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I think dark humor, or as they call it in South Sudan, humor.
Like, oh my God.
I don't think. It's like, yes, we are from. I always say no one who was good looking, grew up well, was raised right, becomes a comedian, right? Because they never had to try to be. There's a joke I do about how you're the ugly one in your friend group if you're the funny one, right? Because in the sense that you had to. I always say our people's comedians' personalities were birthed in fire, right? Like you either become a serial killer or a comedian, right? And so for every comedian I see, I'm like, that's one less Onyancha we have, right? So because
unless they're multitasking.
But so it's because at its core, Eric, a lot of comedians, unless when you think about it, there's a lot of validation you're looking for. I always say only strippers are more vulnerable, and that's arguable, right? And also also there is some sort of masochism there. And I'm going to go on a stage and I'm going to hope that you laugh. And you don't laugh, and I still come back the next day. The punishment Kenyan places are like, Kenyans come to our show to find out if we're funny. They don't come to laugh.
Yeah.
They come, oh, okay, it's good. I see.
Make me laugh.
Yeah, no, I see. Because comedy is the only job you have to prove on the spot.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a comedian, okay. Make me laugh. Make me laugh.
Yeah.
Like, no one ever goes to an accountant and be like, oh, you're a comedian, oh, do my
Do
taxes.
my taxes.
Or like, you're like, oh, you're a podcaster, sound deep.
Yeah.
Like, no one ever. It's just that comedians, we are always trying to constantly prove ourselves. It's dark because no one ever sees our art is so tied to us. No one can say, I like, you can say, I like this Sauti Sol song, but I don't like that Sauti Sol song. But people will say, Ty Gachira is not funny. Yeah. It's not that I didn't like this joke and I like this. I'm not separated from the jokes.
Yeah.
It's you who is not funny. It's not that I like this joke, I don't like it. It's there's no body of work that's appreciated, that I wrote this, this. I wasn't doing too well here. It's no, that guy is not funny. Yeah.
You mentioned that the Kenyan approach to comedy is slightly different, right? Where do you see, because obviously what you've created with Punchline, I don't think I've seen it before. Yeah. But like, what's the goal for the comedic space in Kenya? I'm curious to know.
For me, it's really about being able to realize, and I think we were talking about this off camera, is being able to realize that we've monetized every other art form in the world. We've monetized everything. The end goal for comedy in Kenya is for us to be able to, is three-pronged. I'm going back to what you were saying.
The three essence of life.
Yes, three essences of life. Number one is for us to be able to create spaces that allow us to interrogate ourselves, like I said. It's very important for us to be able to interrogate ourselves. And what Ty said is that in comedy, we can talk about all the things that we'd never really talk about. We can talk about sexuality and laugh at it, but then it sparks a conversation. So creating a space that can allow us to have those conversations is extremely important. And that's one of the things I feel like is where we're headed to. And we are already making good strides. Number two is that how are we able to monetize this? How are we able to make sure that the same way actors get paid, stand-up comedians can get paid and they can live off it? Because this is borrowing from conversations I've had with Ty, is that people believe that talent comes to you. So you don't work at talent. People just, oh, you're funny. That's a talent. People don't see the work behind it. And so there's no value attached to it because it's like, that guy is just funny. So why should I pay you to be? Yeah. But if you talk to a doctor and you say, oh, I went to med school for six years and then I did like basically an internship for a year or two, then we we're like, oh yeah, that guy deserves the salary that he gets. But when it comes to talent, you're an acrobat. You're like, why are we paying this guy? This guy is doing the thing. Anyone. So ideally, it's about being able to create enough opportunities for people to be able to earn. And when I talk about earn, I talk about a dignified wage. Something commensurate to what you do. Like, because the amount of work that people put in. Ty will tell you this. Every single day, he sets aside time to write comedy. So when you ask this guy to host your wedding, to MC a baby shower or whatever, you're not just paying for the day when he comes and tells jokes. You're paying for the time he has spent curating that craft, crafting it and making it. So that's very, very important. And finally, I feel as Kenyans, and having traveled like across the world in many, many places, I always say Nairobi is dead smack between the Western world and what they call the global South. And that is because you can have the best Wagyu beef in the world in Nairobi. And 10 minutes later, you'll be stuck behind Maasai cows, like on an expressway.
From the source of the beef.
and that tells you something. Our perspectives are so very different from any other Africans that there are. And that's not me trying to like say, oh, buy Kenya, build Kenya. What I'm saying is our perspectives are informed by so much hope, so much trauma, so much perseverance. There are people who wake up every day and sell pencils in traffic. And you ask yourself, even if this guy is living in a shack that is costing 3,000 shillings, how many pencils does he have to sell for him to do that? And these are the stories that are amazing for us to be able to express. And so I feel like there's something very important for us as Kenyans, as Africans, to share with the world. And one of the best ways to share that is through comedy. That's my take on that.
Yeah. I think to regard to the future, so for the longest time, like whenever our scene would always be told we are too elitist, right? We do it. But then you realize the thing is, Kenyans, we always say we are a third world country with first world tastes, right? Like you'll see a place where Kenyans don't want to see on TV who they are. like that guy wants to sell pencils and do it, but he wants to go and watch Dave Chappelle at the end of the, you know, like he like, so we make our music international. Our runners are going international, but we want our comedy to be dumbed down.
Yeah.
You see, like Kenyans are watching Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and all those other people, but you still want them to come when they see me on stage. You don't tell them why are Hallelujah's watchmen. You see, like it's like, why do you want me to dumb down at comedy, but when I'm getting there? So I feel one of the biggest vindications for me was when we got to the show, the TMI show, when I got that phone call like one day, and this guy was like, "Hey, this is Kevin. I'm the former writer for the Daily Show, and I think you're going to be a perfect host for a show we want to do, right?" You know, when you're like, "Yo, bruv, New York, Miss J Patasimuya, New York." You know, it's like in the sense that what Eric's trying to say is like the world is watching Kenya, right? And you want to be on the cusp of that greatness, whatever it is that you do. I think being born in Kenya is actually, it has its problems, but it's also a good thing, right? Like, you don't want to be born in Benin, you know, Guinea-Bissau. And
that's how the beef started.
and there's nothing wrong with those people or that country, just that if you're going to be born in Africa, Kenya is not a bad place to find yourself. So, we need to take advantage of that in the sense that you guys are podcasting, you guys are like, so the world is watching Kenya in a space of, we have those perspectives, and need to know, okay, so what do you guys think? They are looking for something new. When Burna Boy said, when you go to the West, don't be them. They're looking for a fresh perspective, right? And people, I always say, don't shed away your Kenyanness about you. Like, there's something authentic about you. Work on it really hard, amplify it, but don't lose it. So I'm saying with stand-up comedy, what's happening with us is, maybe Eric and I and other people there, we are paying the price of pioneership. These are not too good. We are still with the machetes hacking. But like for the guys who are in high school, I want us to be a place where it's okay to be smart and be a comedian, right? I don't want people to think that, oh, yo, you got a D. Oh, have you thought about comedy? You know, like it's you know, like like I want you to know, like, yeah, it's okay to get an A and all those things, and be like, you know what, I want to be a comedian. Because now, you know, it's normally lawyer, doctor, engineer, DJ, comedian. And so, like, no one is like, I want to marry your daughter, and what do you do? I'm a comedian. No.
Man. But also to that point, one of the things that for me was really important when Punchline was starting, I was like, Kenyans are very intelligent people. Unfortunately, whenever we talk about jokes, it was always the comedian would have to almost become a clown, almost a jester. And I'm like, humor is intelligent. So why is it that we as a people who are very intelligent want court jesters?
It is often the court jester that tells the emperor he has no clue.
It's true. However, that makes him the smartest person in the room.
There it is.
But at the same time, when you think about it, and especially, let's say, like generation one of the comedians that we saw, it was always people who dumb themselves down. So I play a character, I wear a green suit, I'm foolish, I'm all of these things, I speak in a funny way, so that we cannot disassociate the character that you play from the person that you are. When people meet Ty in the streets, they don't go, oh, you're funny. No, this is Ty Gachira, and he can have a mature conversation with you because his humor is addressing things in an intelligent way. It's basically being able to talk in a way that allows us to understand that that guy on stage is actually very, very smart. And we have lawyers, we have physicists, we have engineers, we have doctors, we have all these people, we have like financial analysts who come on stage and are able to tell jokes. And for you to make people laugh, they have to think. And for you to make people think, you have to be smart enough.
There it is.
And so for me, what Ty is saying is that level of intelligence must still be associated with the arts. Because a lot of the times we always feel the arts is the alternative for the people who didn't make it in a professional setting as an accountant, as a scientist. Like, no.
Eric, can you tell them what you lecture, what you teach people?
Why would you do
Let them know.
He said no.
Quantum mechanics.
Please explain to those of us, you know.
I'm just here.
Yeah, we are just here.
There are particles in the world, and they help us basically do different things. So if you want a car to move, you basically have a wheel and it's moving from one place to the other. But then we have very, very small particles that make up the particles that we see. And that is basically on a quantum level. And so what I teach is mostly theoretical, but it's now starting to get applied. So when you talk about things like energy, and you're seeing big leaps in lithium energy, in electric vehicles, that sort of thing. So that's what basically quantum mechanics is looking at, is how do we make energy from the very smallest particles that we have around us. And yeah.
Mr. Ty Gachira, please do not be shy.
No, it's giving.
No.
It's giving energy.
It is senior counsel. Please give them your titles.
No.
The CV.
No, like the one of the reason.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a lawyer. That's
No,
why.
you're not a lawyer. No, the right title.
No, okay, sawa. But no, before I get there, at its core is he's from a very sciencey background.
There it is.
Yeah, so because he's from a very scienccy background.
He's very technical.
Yeah, and the thing I'm trying to show is that if when you're a lawyer, you're an advocate, all you're told is all you're told is like technically even law was for the smarter artistic people. You know what I'm saying? Like but you don't realize the logic that could the logic required to do like all those things that are required is a sense of like this is a brain that yes he can be this, but he chooses to be a comedian, right?
I love that.
A public philosopher at its core. You know what be a comedian is? It's being a public philosopher. Well, I have some empathy for those guys who came before us, the ones who had to be clowns, because they were under a regime that if I had to pretend I was mad for me not to be not to be seen, I had to pretend like, no, look at me, I'm just crazy, I'm just saying. Is it now our generation can be like, yo, this is my name, and this is what I think about what's happening. And the thing is, comedians are not afraid to say, I am wrong. I could be wrong about an issue. We're not your politician. There are no you could come and tell, you can come and say, I heard you and I think you were wrong about this. But when the more offended people are, the more you know there's an element of truth in what you're saying.
But let me tell you guys, I've shot this season, but this episode has been.
Oh my god!
I think they say this.
I think they say that to everyone.
No, tell this to all the guys.
Take it from me.
This is my first time.
Take it from me. Like, listen, we have a quantum mechanics professor.
Come on now.
And an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and all of Kenya Supreme Court.
Yes.
A judicial officer.
Outstanding.
As well as, this man can tell you string theory.
Yes.
But what he has decided to do is he is critiquing society every day on Thursday.
On Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays now.
Yes.
With the Punchline Comedy Club. Is this still at 2 grapes?
2 grapes.
You have this opportunity because I honestly think we won't have you guys for long. This is and I was,
what did I say when we were asking you guys to come? I said I need to get them now.
Because we won't have you guys for long.
No.
I
hope you're talking promotions, not assassinations.
Nimeongea
na Ruto na bro. You won't be here for long.
No, we won't have you. To be honest, you guys have it exactly right. I honestly, I've been mind blown by this podcast. And if you've been watching this on video, you've just been seeing my reactions and just how much fun I've been having learning from and listening to you guys. I'll head on to the last question just in the interest of time because we could talk about we could pick your brains on social issues for the whole day. And I feel like we've covered everything. But I just want to know from each of you, what is that one piece of content, that one video, that one quote that kind of transformed who you are then into who you are now? And just share that to the audience for their benefit, because I feel like you're two highly intelligent, highly functional people. Just please share that with us.
Okay, well, I don't know if, quotes is hard because it's like, I should have said this one.
This one.
Whatever. It could be a book, a movie, just a piece of content.
Book-wise, there's a book I always talk about wherever I go. It's called The War of Art by a guy called Steven Pressfield. Many people know The Art of War by Sun Tzu. But then there's one called The War of Art, and the guy called Steven Pressfield. And for him, he says that any great thing you want to do, once you get that spark, the next immediate thing you get is something called resistance. And resistance is a force that, however I wanted to write or have a good idea about the podcast, and you're about to implement it, but decide, let me wash the house first. Like the most mundane of things, resistance presents as either I want to watch the house, a fear, or there's a whenever greatness is about to happen in your head, there's always a resistance that comes doubt, just some random, but you know, Kenya, that socket is off. Like something that will just have to justify why I'm not going to take this next step.
Yeah.
And so for him, he talks about resistance. But the one thing he says is, don't wait for like inspiration. Let inspiration find you or on the way, right? Like let's say if I want to write jokes, I can't wait for when I have good ideas for me to write jokes.
Yeah.
It's me sitting down and saying, I have a blank piece of paper. Let me write what I thought about today. Today it might come, today it may not come. But something he calls the muse will honor you in the sense that my tools of trade are here. Muse, please. You see, it's you can only three things that you can function out of. It's like your mindset, right? Your skill set and your tools. They're the only things you have that are in control of you, right? So if I fix my mindset, I make my skill set better, and I can get more tools as I accrue things. Generally, I'll be good. You can't control things outside of you, right? But as Aloy Black says, be a king when kingdom comes. Like my work is just be a king. I don't know when kingdom is coming, but it shall find me ready. Yeah.
Wow.
That's it, yeah.
Wow.
There it is. There it is. Open up.
I don't know how to follow that. I don't know how to follow that. I think for me, it's something, and this is something I learned from Ty, is that hard work beats talent every single time.
Yeah.
And that's incredible because that's something that I've heard so very many times. But the one thing that I always say to like my friends, I always say to my students and everything is that being able to listen, they say wisdom, knowledge talks, wisdom listens. Being able to just listen. And that's not, I'm not even talking about just like people, advice or whatever, just even the environment around you. When you think about it, we've reached a point in this world where we just don't stop and listen. And that's one of the most amazing things that we have, to just being able to listen to our gut feeling, listen to the universe, listen to whatever you believe in, listen to someone else. You may not have to take the advice, but just listen. So those two things, when basically knowledge is talking, wisdom is listening. And number two is hard work will beat talent every single time. And the people I've seen make something of themselves are the people who always put the work in.
My God. Jeez.
Let's
leave
end
it
it.
right
Right
there.
there.
Right there.
Actually, one more thing. I have a joke.
Oh God. Oh God. Don't tell us.
A quantum mechanics professor in a
Walk into a bar.
That is my joke.
I wasn't there. Okay.
Technically, the bar walks into the bar, then
God damn it. God damn it.
Yeah.
Guys, I really, really hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I hope you've got a new appreciation for the art of comedy. These guys are running Punchline Comedy Club, which is at 2 Grapes every Wednesday. We really recommend you go and check it out if you want to laugh. I remember at one point I was having one of the worst weeks and I texted you saying, yo, I didn't end up coming, by the way. Sorry. Yeah. I was having one of the worst weeks, and I said, like, the first thing I thought was, I need to go to Punchline. It's one of the best releases. It's a lot of fun. So I recommend you if you're in Nairobi. Sorry if you're not in Nairobi, if you're around the world, but if you're in Nairobi, Punchline Comedy Club. The link will be below, so you can check it out. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast half as much as we enjoy making it. Because
if I can say something is like our content is all over the place. I think you have Punchline Comedy Club Nairobi on YouTube. Even if you're across the world, you can enjoy that. If I can plug in a show that's upcoming,
plug everything.
We have a new show coming up for the next generation of comedians coming up. It's going to be the 17th of September, Saturday at 2 Grapes.
The new school.
It's called the New School. It's all the new comedians, basically guys who've started in the last year or so. Basically introducing those. So the Thais have now become generation 2. Now we have the 3rd generation, 4th generation coming up. And it's a great time for you to come and see the next big names. But also it's a great opportunity for them to feel the support and know that the hard work that they've been putting in is being recognized. So tickets are 1,000 shillings. We have all details on Punchline Comedy Club on Instagram. Everywhere you can just... If you come out, that would be really great.
Link in description. Link in description. There'll be a link. We'll put the link in the description to purchase a ticket. And we'll try our best to make sure it airs on that day.
Yeah, man. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time, man.
Do you have
anything to plug?
No, I'm just saying, our material is everywhere. You could stop me on the street with some money. You can get a joke. Like live experience is better,
There we go.
No, but honestly, I feel like we've said everything we need to say.
Yeah, amazing. Gents, thanks for your time. And guys, check us out next week here on Mantalk.ke.
Boom. Share, like, subscribe.
There we go.